So my question is to all of you listening, number one, who are your sales heroes? Who are those people? They are out there. It's easy to really summon up the times that we've been sold to badly. It's harder to look at the people that are serving us beautifully and call that selling. But those are your sales heroes. And then my question for you becomes, why wouldn't you also be the person that someone else loves to pay?
What if there was a way for you to love selling, where you didn't hesitate or think twice about putting yourself out there, sharing your gifts or your offers? What if you could be confident, clear, and compelling every time you talked about your business and how you help your clients? This is not a dream. You can make this a reality. Selling is an integral part of your business. Without it, you may as well close your doors and pull down that website. You need to learn how to sell. And what if you could learn how to do it with passion, excitement, and ease? I'm your host, Finka, and this is the Sell From Love podcast, the show that offers you a better way to live, work, and sell. Each week, you'll hear from real people telling real stories about how they learn to rise above the noise, confidently step into their leadership, and shift from transactional to transformational selling. My guest today is P Ruggles. Despite being the granddaughter of a literal used car salesman, Annie has spent the last decade harnessing her Hulk-like disdain for hard sales, tacky self-promotion, and overly competitive, as she likes to call it, sleazeballs, as inspiration to help people find better ways to grow their small businesses. As founder and dean of the Non-Sleazy Sales Academy, she's guided hundreds of people towards making deeper connections, lasting impressions, and friendlier, more lucrative transactions and conversations. With the goal of overturning the common wisdom that the art of selling is indistinguishable from the art of manipulation in mind, Annie found the Non-Sleazy Sales Academy. Her own weekly podcast, Too Legitimate to Quit, provides instantly actionable small business strategies with a pop culture spin. On the agenda today with Annie, we talk about what it means to do non-sleazy selling. Annie's work is well aligned to the Sell From Love philosophy. Annie used to feel bad about selling and had a history of sales avoidance. She defines that as not defining what selling means to you. You need to decide what selling is to you. For Annie, she talks about how she reframed selling to mean problem solving for money. Simple and straight to the point, right? This helped her overcome any sleaze in her selling so she could push forward to get her products and services in the hands of the customers that needed the most. We then venture in talking about what it means to love your offer and the importance of valuing your work appropriately. How could you expect others to deem what you offer as valuable if you don't? Plus, there's a reputational risk we run when we underprice and devalue ourselves and our services. We talk about the differences between being accessible and affordable. You want to be accessible, and people don't necessarily trust things that are incredibly affordable. When you over-deliver on value from a position of fear, you could have your clients think it's too good to be true and have them shy away and not take action as a result. Finally, we talk about the role empathy plays in maintaining healthy client relationships. Your client is the hero of their own journey, not you. Clients need to put in the work to be successful. Your role is to coach, guide, and facilitate an environment for a transformation to take place. It's not your job to do the work. Take responsibility for it or endeavor to force to make the transformation happen. You can be an empathetic person, and as an empath, you run the risk of bringing too much empathy, which can be a bad thing. Learn how too much empathy can lead to resentment and overextending yourself when you are acting from fear or guilt. But before we get started, I have a favor to ask. Is there a friend or colleague you know that would benefit from listening to the Sell From Love podcast? If so, could you please share it with them? Plus, to help others find this podcast in the midst of all the other amazing ones out there, could you pop into Apple Podcasts to rate and review the Sell From Love podcast? I'd be ever so grateful if you did. Now, I can't wait for you to listen in and learn how to passionately love selling as Annie P. Ruggles shows us her way. Now, let's get started. Welcome, Annie P. Ruggles, to the Sell from Love podcast. I am so delighted you are here with me today.
I am so delighted to be here. So yay for our mutual delight. And thank you for having me.
I know. I'm already loving your energy. One of the things that it sounds like your work and my work are really aligned. And so I'm super excited about talking about one, selling and how to make selling feel more authentic and easy. And as you put it, non-sleazy. Well, I didn't make that actually sounded really good.
It really did. Look at you. Rhyming in the morning.
I know.
Look.
First thing. It was the morning run and the dose of spinach that Annie and I were talking about before we started on the call.
Yes. In addition to loving sales and selling from love, we are both pro spinach.
We both are. And did you also know that that was an alliteration full of S's there? Just saying. So tell me a little bit about how did you land in the world of selling and non-sleazy selling? Like, what was the impetus for you to end up in this place today?
The trajectory was really weird in that, I talk a lot about sales avoidance, which is that icky, barfy, nasty feeling that people get when they sell. And I think I had the worst case of that ever. If it had anything to do with sales, I didn't want any part of it. But I've always been pretty obsessed with super small businesses. As a little kid, if I saw a going out of business sign, even for like a tax firm or something that I had no reason to do or like care about as an 8-year-old, I would just sob and sob and sob. And my parents would be like, what is wrong with this child? And I'd say, well, that's somebody's dream. Right? That's somebody's dream. I didn't understand money yet. I didn't understand revenue or profit yet, but I did understand that that was the end of a dream. And that really stuck with me. And so when it came time to figure out what I wanted to do after school and all of these things, I was like, you know what? I'm going to serve the mom and pops, the super small shops, the solopreneurs, and get them out there. And I've always loved language. I've always loved helping people figure out what makes them unique. And so for me, the logical combination was copywriting and branding.
Awesome.
And I adored it. I loved it. And then I had this weird gap in software, got out of that. But then I realized none of the branding in the world is going to make you money if you don't ask. And that's how I wound up in sales.
That's awesome. Tell us a little bit about what is sales avoidance and what was your experience of it?
Sales avoidance is really the symptom of not redefining selling for yourself. Most of the people I encounter on the day-to-day basis think that selling is the accumulated behaviors of all the ways they've been negatively treated in the past by salespeople. Right? So they define selling as arm twisting, lying, over-promising, faking rapport, trying to, being selfish, only thinking about your bottom line, getting the money and then neglecting the client. All of these things have been done to us over and over and over and over and over in life by people that call themselves salespeople. And so we internalize that and we're like, oh my gosh, this business is my dream. This business is the thing. It's my mission. It's my calling. It's my purpose. Why would I ever want to attach those horrible behaviors to my child, my mission, my vision, my quest, whatever it may be? It feels just too far apart. And so what sales avoidance really manifests as is over marketing. We talk about it and talk about it and talk about it and give and give and give and give and give and give and give. And we never really ask. And when we go to ask, it feels foreign and uncomfortable and sleazy. But it's only because we have not yet eradicated those behaviors and redefined selling for ourselves.
And so how would you redefine selling if it's not defined the way in which we've, I'm going to say, almost accumulated these beliefs and stories about what selling is? What is selling really?
Problem solving for money.
That is so clear. Problem solving for money. So tell more.
Yep. I mean, if you're a cupcake baker, you are solving the problem that someone's sweet tooth is flaring up and damn, do they want a cupcake. right? Or maybe you're solving the problem of my picky 7-year-old has had a really bad year. Their last birthday was in COVID, and I want to make this birthday party special. Okay, Mr. Cupcake Baker, get in there and solve that problem. If you are a life coach promising transformation, you are walking someone through the path of getting out of their personal hell and closer to their personal heaven. You are solving that problem for money. Right? No, but here's the thing. A lot of these coaches, a lot of these other do-gooders are like, well, I don't need to charge. That feels weird. So I guess I'll just keep solving all these problems for free. That's not selling. That's called murdering your small business. Right? But if you just say, hey, this is the problem I want to solve for you, and the market rate or my rate for solving that problem is X, that is the whole ask. And in essence, the whole sale. So that's why I've always defined it as just problem solving for money.
And it sounds so like logical. It's just that, like, if you make it a fact, it's problem solving for money, and the emotional baggage is not attached to it. All of a sudden, selling is very easy. So how does one go from, because I also know, the people that I help and support, they also, and I'm going to say, I also have struggled with this in the past. And there's this part of us but I want to do good. People who have a hard time selling are seeing themselves as helpers, as servers, as I want to do good in the world. I want to do good by my clients. And it feels bad to get money and get paid for it, to charge a fee or, to get money for it. So how does one make it easier on themselves to actually move from that place of problem solving for money? Yeah, but I've got all this emotional baggage with what selling is, because I'm defining it differently. And I also have this emotional baggage on getting paid to actually help someone. And on top of it, I love doing this work. So can I even get paid for it? Like, you're telling me I can actually get paid for work I love? That doesn't feel like what I've believed all my life.
There's so many incredible pieces that you just snuck into that one question, and I really want to honor them all. First off, I straight up call it sales baggage. And there are multiple types. I've found 4 that kind of contribute to this feeling, and we can get into that later if you want. But the easiest, fastest workaround that I have seen in my own life and for my clients' lives, if you're like, who am I to be charging? Who am I to be worthy of this? Now, if you have money issues, look at that. Right? A lot of that is generational. I'm not a money coach. There are a lot of people that are, but it's very important to tackle that. But instead, I encourage anybody listening who feels like they are cheapening or hurting what they do, or it feels gross or nasty to receive in exchange. I want you to think about someone in your everyday life that you gladly, willingly throw money at. Everybody has this person. If it's the daycare that takes incredible care of your child and makes your child feel loved and seen and safe, and their knowledge is exploding, you gladly pay that daycare bill, right? If it's the barista at the coffee shop down the street who knows your order the second you walk in and it's always the perfect temperature and they always give you service with a smile, you always leave that tip. You're so glad to leave that tip. That person has brightened your day, and it's just a coffee, right? So if we look at the people that we gladly pay, even if it's celebrities, if Taylor Swift came to town, I would pay top dollar to see someone half my age sing a sad song that's not relevant to me, and I would do it gladly. Why? Because I love Taylor Swift, and she deserves whatever she asked for in my book. So my question is, to all of you listening, number one, who are your sales heroes? Who are those people? They are out there. It's easy to really summon up the times that we've been sold to badly. It's harder to look at the people that are serving us beautifully and call that selling. But those are your sales heroes. And then my question for you becomes, why wouldn't you also be the person that someone else loves to pay? Odds are you would be if you just asked to get paid, because most of the people that are terrified about asking are natural over deliverers who love their clients. It's right here on your book. Love your client, right? They love their clients deeply and dearly. They're natural over deliverers. What I'm asking you to do is include yourself in that equation, but think about how hardcore you love that client. Why wouldn't you be? Why couldn't you be the person that if they were listening to this podcast, they'd go, you know who I love to pay? Finka. She's a genius. She's amazing. She's never led me astray. Anytime she writes a book, it's a must buy. Anytime she has an event, I have to be there. Why couldn't that be you? In most cases, it already is. We just don't realize yet because we're not asking enough.
Yeah, agreed. I'm going to say, I love that. I love when people would say, I love to pay Finka. And I'm going to say, yes. I love to receive it too. So there's this reciprocal nature. I think I came across it through Bob Berg in his book, The Go-Giver, where he talks about sort of the giving and receiving spectrum. Like in order to get paid, like you're giving something, but also you have to have the ability to receive. It's a two-way street. Yes. And it's interesting. Like yesterday we were talking about this in the Self from Love Academy in one of our coaching session. And we were talking about how when we devalue ourselves, we don't charge enough or we don't charge at all, our clients and potential clients stop coming to us. Yes. Because they feel guilty. It's like, oh my God, you're going to just give me so much. And I'm not going to, you helped me solve that thing. And you didn't ask me for anything from return. We actually cut the cord from helping more clients or that client continuously because we have not allowed them to give back to us.
1,000,000,000% agree. And on the flip side of that, we have a tendency to attract looky-loos who want to sit on your mailing list for 6.5 years, buy nothing, and clog up all your energy. And that's great if that's the kind of business you want to run. But in my forthcoming book, You Are Not a Nonprofit, we have to talk about the fact that you are a for-profit business. Yeah. You have to be asking, right? And if you're not, then you're not actually showing up like a business. And another thing it does, it makes the people that want to pay you feel guilty, to your point. It also robs you of professionalism. Mm-hmm. And I didn't understand this for the longest time because I intentionally in my stuff wanted to be bargain basement. I wanted to be the cheapest, the most affordable. What I didn't understand I wanted to be was accessible.
Yes.
What I thought I needed to be was extremely affordable. Accessible and affordable are not the same things, friends. And so I heard from people that went to my site, looked at the price, and went, how good can this be for a price so low? And I love low ticket because I'm accessible. But I pay low ticket recurring, low ticket, low touch, right? There are all these other ways to do this. And, people don't really get that. But if you went into, we've been talking about spinach, but I'm going to shout out to the meat eaters in the world. If you went into your favorite grocery store, even if you super trust the grocery store and they've never sold you anything gross and you know the guy at the meat counter and he's a really nice guy. If you went in and you saw 2 equal packages of steak, one package of steak says $18. The identical package of steak next to it, seemingly identical, is covered in sale stickers, special buy, sale. And then you look at the price and it says $2. Are you going to buy the $2 steak? Most people would say no because we're like, there's an $18 steak right here. Why is it so cheap? I don't trust it. We do the exact same thing in our businesses. I love Dollar Tree. I'm not using a Dollar Tree pregnancy test and expecting it to be accurate. Why? Because it's too cheap. Your clients, your prospects are looking at you the same way. If you're undervaluing your work, you shoot a hole in your own professionalism. And y'all, I'm not judging you if you're undercharging. I undercharged for years. And it's still a struggle, but I have to include myself.
I do believe that there's a part of our work where, especially for us who have a struggle to receive money or ask for money, there is a journey map where you are going to do work for free. You are going to over deliver. You are going to resent your clients for not getting paid enough.
Yes.
It is the growing pains. And then finally you get to this point, it's like, I am fed up. Like I am done with doing free work. I am done with not getting paid enough. And there's this part of understanding. So I find what also happens is, especially in the coaching, advice, mentoring space, we are facilitating transformations.
Yes.
So oftentimes, there's not a physical exchange of a product. The lack of that physical exchange of a product has us sit down and think about our product and say, like, is this really a value? Am I actually giving you something? Is something happening? So what I find is that what stops us from moving forward to getting paid for our worth, getting paid at all, is the fact that yet we don't, and the third principle of selling from us is loving your offer, that we don't love the thing we are offering enough because we don't yet believe it is delivering on the promise that we are promising to our clients.
Yes, yes, yes.
And so I had this question also, and so I'd love your take on it because it's literally a topic of what we're talking about in the Self and Love Academy this last couple of weeks around the fear of what if I promise something and it doesn't happen? What if I'm promising you're going to be more confident? You're going to, help yourself get promoted up that corporate ladder, or you're going to be seen and more visible, or you're going to get more clients. And they're making these promises or they're making these value propositions. And there's part of them that is like, I'm still not sure if that's going to happen for my client. And how can I get paid for something that I'm not yet sure is going to deliver on that? How do you navigate that territory? Either, what's your experience been for you on how you helped yourself get through that point? Or if you have a situation even with a client.
Oh, yeah. Okay. So first things first, overpromising is the plague of selling, right? Everybody is being overpromised to all the time, especially in the personal development and coaching space. It's basically the new running line of that is like, you will be a millionaire by next Tuesday if you do one Instagram reel. Woo! Like, oh, come on, stop it. Just stop it. But what for me, I really had to stop and look several years into my business, really when I started focusing more on selling, at what metrics and what performance indicators actually matter to my client and how to deal with that, right? If my client is coming to me and their only real focus is how much more money they make, is that the right client for me first and foremost? Number two, do I want to make them some kind of financial promise? Is that within my wheelhouse, right? But I think a lot of the times we assume this person is hiring me to teach them how to sell. They want me to get them to $10,000 by next Tuesday, and I don't think I can deliver that. Well, did you ask them if that's what they want? Because a lot of my clients come to me and yes, money would be wonderful, but they just want to not be embarrassed when they finish their next sales call. They want to walk away feeling confident that they've given it their best stab. They want to feel more legitimized and professional as a business. That's equally important to them as the money. Those things I can absolutely promise 100 billion%. But beyond what actually matters to them, we have to look at the role that we play in their lives. I desperately love my clients and I want them to get their wildest dreams and more in working for me. But at the end of the day, there is a bit where you have to realize that they are the hero of their story, not you. And that rising to the heroic nature of their journey is on them, right? So what I always say is, and I don't want to do results not typical, like a weight loss ad where they're like, I lost 75 pounds in 1 minute. And then underneath it says results not typical. I don't want to do that. But I will very easily and without hesitation say my clients, my darling, beloved clients who show up on the calls, ask questions, take up space, do the curriculum, and fill out the worksheets, are reporting wins like these, right? They're reporting wins like feeling super confident, getting re-enrollment sales, handling customer service situations with grace, saving a sale that they thought that they lost. But I say, and in order to get those kinds of results, what is expected of you is this, and this, because I'm not dragging anybody off the finish line. I did that for years in my marketing and branding situation. They'd say, Annie, I want to hire you to brush up my website. I I'd wind up rewriting the whole thing because I'm an over deliverer. And then I'd go to their website 6 months from then. None of the copy had been changed, not even what we first started with. And then the client comes back to me and goes, my new website's not working. Is that my fault? You didn't put any of the copy that I gave you.
Yeah.
Right? In selling, it's the same way. If you're not going to ask for sales calls, I can't make you better on the sales call. I'll teach you how to ask. I'll teach you how to ask and feel amazing about it. But if you don't do it, you can't blame my program. And so it's part of that too, understanding where your responsibility ends, but then knowing how to encourage people to pick up their baton and run.
Yeah. I always look at that client, coach, advisor, consultant type relationship where as a coach, you are facilitating an environment for them to take that responsibility, to take action, but they are the owners of what they do with that. And so you can have the most brilliant curriculum that promises those beautiful outcomes. But if they don't do the work, they're the workers, like they do the work. And you are there creating the space for them to come into the conversation that they chose to come in because they said, yes, they wanted to sign up for this transformation. They wanted this potential to be unleashed in them, whatever it is that they were striving to get. And I think another important part is, especially when we start a client relationship, is actually clearing out what are the goals? What are the outcomes? I love starting everything like, what is it that you want to get out of our relationship? What will be most useful and valuable to you? How will you know the investment you made in working together was a success?
Yes.
And then from there, right? From there, then we can say, all right, these are the KPIs or key performance indicators. We're going to have 3 of them. Whether it's an elevation in confidence, maybe your bottom line, or how many clients you fill up in a program, but at least we know. And then once you know those goals, then it becomes a lot easier to figure out, okay, what are the behaviors and actions that have to happen and the mindset in order to achieve those goals?
100 billion%.
But it's not us. And this is the thing. It's not us doing the work. We're, again, setting up the construct. But they are actually driving the car. They're driving the bus.
If you're a door-to-door vacuum salesman and you sell someone a vacuum and they angrily call the company in a month and say, come take this piece of junk, it doesn't work. And you go and the house is a mess and they scream at you about how dirty their carpet is and you go to take the vacuum back and it's still in the box. That is exactly
perfect example.
100% what it's like when we have clients that don't show up for themselves. And it sucks. It sucks, but it's also not our freaking problem, which is why one of the best and most liberating things I ever did in my own business. And one of the main things that I encourage my clients to do, and I encourage listeners to do, is offer a conditional guarantee. I have no problem if I'm not the right fit for someone doing a partial or full refund, depending on the situation. But note that I said, if I'm not the right fit for someone, meaning if I oversold someone, if I confused someone, if they came into the program thinking it was one thing, but it's really another, then fine, we can talk about that. But if you hang out in my community for 6 months, and then you come to me and you say, Annie, I want a refund. This does not happen. But if it did, here's my protocol. I have it in place in case it happens, even though it never has. I would sit down and I would treat it exactly the same way that someone that I love who's devouring the program but struggling came to me and said, Annie, I need some extra help. It's the same conversation. I say, show me your work. Bring me your worksheets. Show me your social. Hop on a Zoom and screen share with me, play me your sales call, send me a recording. There's got to be something that proves it's not working. If you're just going to say, well, this isn't working for me, and I say, show your work, and you go, well, I haven't done anything, and I go into Kajabi where my course is hosted, and you haven't even touched the curriculum, I'm not refunding that. You haven't done the work yet. I'll refund you when you try it and it doesn't work, because that is the violation of the promise I made you. I didn't promise you that the mere act of signing up for my academy would make you sell like an incredible vision. I said, show up, learn, implement, and profit.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. But it's such a beautiful relationship you're cultivating with your clients because you're not carrying them through it. You're not carrying the weight and the load and the responsibility. And again, it's by us showing up in the way that you're just demonstrating for us, we are again helping them be better leaders in their work and their business, because we are not going to have them settle and make excuses. And so I think, even though we have to at times give tough love to our clients, it's really coming from this place of, I see better for you, because I know if I say, okay, fine, here, take your money, and that's fine. But if I don't take a stand for you not doing the work and giving you a chance to do the work, then, and call you out on it in a very kind way,
right?
Then, we're not doing our part, because again, that role of, we see more potential possible for our client when they're stuck in their zone. They're stuck in their zone. And that's why they hire us to do our work, is because we can help them kind of get unstuck and get to that next level for themselves.
Well, and we talked about, you said this perfect word that I just think is so key when we were talking about undercharging. You said resent, right? We become resentful. And there is nothing more heartbreaking. And I've seen this in my own life, and I've seen this with people I love, people that have hired me, people that haven't. There is nothing more jarring and painful than when a heart-centered, client-loving person begins to resent the very people that they are working to serve. Oh, it's heartbreaking. Because on paper, you have everything you want. You have someone to help. You have somebody listening. You have someone to guide. And then you look at yourself, you're exhausted, you're burnt out, you're doing all the work, and they're complaining at you. Ow.
Exactly. So this might actually be the next question I was thinking about, was around the relationship of empathy in our client relationships, because I can see the thread of it, how when we're too empathetic, because this is the problem with empathy. There's really good things with empathy, and then there's a problem with empathy. And I'd love to hear your take on empathy, but I can see when we're too empathetic.
Yes.
And it's coming from, and my construct is we either selling from love or we're selling from fear. But when we're coming from a place of fear and we're too empathetic, that's where we start planting the seeds of resentment.
Oh, yeah.
Right. So talk about what are your thoughts on how does empathy help us sell more, and how does it get in the way?
So my program, the core of the Non-Sleazy Sales Academy, is actually called Sales for Empaths. And the reason that happened was I read all of the books that we've all read. And in all of these books, mostly written by men, no offense, dudes, but in most of these books, they're trying to teach sales pit people how to respond with empathy. So they're actually trying to teach empathy. And I thought, well, isn't this the biggest irony in the world? I spend all day with empathic people who cannot sell because they refuse to. And yet over here, all the big, the Grant Cardones and the everybody are like, what you need is empathy. And you're totally right. It's because it is a critical, beautiful nucleus of relationship-based selling. But if you let it go unchecked to the detriment of yourself, if you lose yourself in the other person, then it becomes this monster that will wind up eating your business. And so I always remember that the client and I are two separate people. And as empathic as I am, I'm like this gooey, human, emotional sponge of empathy. As empathic as I am, if I put myself too often in the customer's shoes, too often, then I start to make assumptions about what they need instead of asking them. So when I stop asking questions and I start assuming things, I base them on my own worst case scenario. So if the customer's website isn't up, they must be having a terrible time. Not that they've deprioritized it, not that they're on vacation, not that they have a sick kid, not any of these things. They must need me to do it. Oh, God, they need me to rush in and do the thing and save the day and be the hero and blah, blah, blah. That's all my mess. That's not their mess. Same thing with pricing. We shop with our own wallets. This is a huge trap of empathy in that we look at the other person and we go, wow, she's really killing it. But, she's got 4 kids and she's recently divorced. And I'm just going to guess based on my expectation of a woman with 4 kids who's recently divorced that she has no money, but she seems really great. So if I was a single mother with 4 kids, I would want to pay $25 instead of $2,500. So that's what I'm going to offer her. It's actually kind of offensive to the client to assume what they can or want to pay. Mm-hmm. Just ask them, right? But it's when we allow our empathy to bleed our vision of what their life should be, our vision of how things should work based on our emotions, that we start to project. And then when we don't get back what we expect, again, we would have given in return, that's where that resentment comes in. Well, I did their whole website. You'd think that they would at least offer me a testimonial. Did you ask for a testimonial? And did they ask you to write their whole damn website?
Yeah.
Both cases, no, right? So that's where that resentment comes in, is where we start. Empathy is so powerful when it helps you relate to the pain points, the struggles, and the needs of the person you're talking to. Empathy is not helpful when we start to go, well, if I were that person, I wouldn't be able to, I wouldn't want, I would have to. And when we start taking responsibility for their lives onto us.
Exactly. The stories we start telling ourselves based on what we think they may or may not need. And then we act on those.
Yes.
Because I think the stories are still going to happen. And so our job is, how do you, as an empathetic, very easily put yourself in your client's shoes and feel what they're feeling. And oftentimes, even in our client conversations, we're absorbing their feelings and their emotions, like we're these energetic sponges.
Yeah.
How do you, I know self-awareness is a huge piece. You become aware of it, but what have you found has helped in your work to help clients, or even in your own experience, wake up to, this might not be mine. This might be theirs. Like, how do you differentiate that you are making up the story? And then what do you do with it then? Okay, great. Now I'm aware I might be assuming and pushing my beliefs and budget, constraints on my client where they might not have it. And how do you take action from there?
Boundaries, baby, boundaries. And one of the ways that you can do that is when you get into an engagement, be very clear at the beginning about what you're going to provide and what you're not going to provide. And then hold yourself accountable to your own contract. If it's not on the contract, if it's not on the sales page, if it hasn't been discussed on a recorded call, whatever the situation may be, don't do it unless you're intentionally doing it as a positive thank you, right? If you had a great working experience, you want to throw them a little extra to sweeten the deal. Awesome. Deal sweeteners, fine. Don't kill yourself on the time or the money of them, but fine. That's adding to the client relationship, right? But on the flip side, one of the main things I see all the time, which leads to overpromising and over empathy, is improvisation. We don't know what we want to say ahead of time. Not that I don't teach sales scripts, not that we want to bind ourselves so completely to a script. But if I go in and I go, okay, I have not set an upper limit or a lower limit. I'm going to drop this price point. I'm going to see how they respond. And then if they try to haggle, we'll see what happens. And I go in and I go, okay, well, the price is, okay, single mom, 4 kids. And the price is, okay, well, for most people, the price is $1,000, but, and then they're like, well, how about 500? And you're like, okay, fine. Right? Or you get,
I love your reenactment. I love it.
Or you get an objection and you don't know what to say. So you're like, I totally understand why you would feel that way. You know what? You're right. I'm going to give you an extra month just to make sure that we can really tackle that objection. Why? It's because you didn't say ahead of time, Annie, insert your name here, everybody. Annie, do not offer these things no matter what. These are a violation of your boundary, because in the moment when we get swept up in that good feeling emotion, or we get swept up in somebody's pain point or sob story, it's so easy to want to overextend to fit the vibe of the call. You can fit the vibe of the call and offer what you were going to offer at the beginning of the call, as long as what you're offering at the beginning of the call is clarified. Same thing with conflicts. Somebody's really, really struggling, that you wrote copy for their website or co-wrote something with them and it's not on the website yet. Then it's your prerogative to go, I see you're really struggling. I want to gift you this extra 30-minute call, boundaried 30-minute call, so I can show you some WordPress tips and tricks I know. Okay, that's your prerogative. But there's a huge difference between let me give you an extra very boundaried thing to help you do the work, and what I used to do, send me your WordPress login and I'll just do it for you unpaid.
And if you also notice where the motivation is coming from, because send me your WordPress, or there is going to be, I know when I do it, when I overextend, like there's the overextend and over deliver. I can over deliver from love. I overextend from fear and guilt.
Amen.
Right. And so when I am coming from that place, then I know, oh, this is guilt for me is a big trigger. So if I feel guilty about something, or fear or doubt or uncertainty, any of those characteristics show up in the motivation or the action that I want to do, that is a steer clear of, okay, you better stop and reassess.
Yes.
And I love it. Implement boundaries to set yourself up for success, especially if you know you might get in a situation. So that's why you're not scripting, you're pre-planning your calls. So you're sitting down yourself, okay, I have these 3 offers. These are the price point with these 3 offers that would be suitable for this client, or 2 offers, whatever you might present to that client as options. And then you have that parameter. If they say, well, I'd love to work with you for more sessions. And how are you going to kind of navigate that? Pre-plan it, don't pre-script it, but already start thinking about it beforehand.
Absolutely. And you're so spot on over-delivering from love and over-delivering from fear.
Yeah.
Over-delivering from love is arguably my favorite activity on the planet.
Same here. Like I'm looking at, like even recently, like we're just in the midst of, we've got 2 more weeks in the Self from Love Academy. And as we're going through the course, I'm like, I think I can add one more thing. And I just like, oh, this thing is going to be so juicy and so good. And I'm so excited to share it. And it's going to be so beautiful and bring everything that they've done over the last 7 weeks together in this one last thing that I want to build for them and give to them. That was fully from love. Like it was just, and so then last night.
You can hear it in when you related it.
Right. And then last night I'm like, guys, I made this Self from Love playbook for you where you can put everything in here and blah, blah, blah. And they're like, oh, this is so great. But, and I have had this experience in the past, if I came from this place of, I don't know if they're getting enough out of the course. I don't know if they're getting the outcomes that they have. I'm so worried that they're not going to, they're going to walk away from this course and they're going to be like, oh, that was such a waste of money. And they're not going to tell people about it. And then I'm overcompensating the love because I'm afraid of those things happening. The extra addition and the bonus one would come from a place of that guilt and doubt and fear.
Absolutely.
And the receptive one, I wouldn't be as excited to making it because I'm super jazzed about it. And I'm like, oh, this is going to make, when Self from Love Academy comes out in the fall, it's going to make it even that much better because all of a sudden we've got this playbook that people get to make as a result of the course. But there's such a different energy. And I think that too is a good guide of how excited and jazzed up are you about working with this client, offering this value, or is it something that's going to be, is it a labor of love, or is it going to be like heavy and hard and, oh, I just want to do this so I don't feel so bad. If it's making you feel better.
Don't throw yourself under the bus if you don't need to.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? Like I used to do this and I have the blessing and the curse of living with obsessive compulsive disorder. So when I decide to obsess about something, girl, I obsess about it. But I mean, there have been really embarrassing, because I think a lot of this is we want to stave off embarrassment, but I have had some self-inflicted extreme embarrassments. I turn something into a client, normally via email, right? And then I have the expectation that the client will get back to me gushing with love within approximately 2 minutes. So after 2 minutes have gone by and my email inbox is still not returned, I start to panic. And I'm like, they hate it. They hate it. They hate me. They're going to ask for a refund. I got to fix this. I got to fix this. I got to fix this proactively. I got to fix this. And I have literally, thankfully not in the last several years, but I've done this more than once. Talk about making yourself look unprofessional. I sat there and replied to my own email with this big thing being like, by now I'm guessing you don't like it. I'm so sorry that you don't like it. Let me tell you all the ways that I'm going to fix it. Here's 2 rewrites that took approximately 5 hours of my time. I hope that you like these better. Please forgive me. Love, Annie. And then I get an email from them being like, dude, chill. I was at my son's bar mitzvah. Like, I haven't even opened the email yet. What is wrong with this woman? Sends me 3 times what I asked for and sends an apology with it. And then, or even worse, you send the email and then at the exact same minute that they were emailing or you were emailing them, they were emailing you. And then you get the email and they're like, I love it. You're a genius. I can't wait to put this out. And you just sent them something being like, look, if you're unhappy, we can work on it. Will you please email me back soon? Because I'm really freaking out. Okay, come on, y'all. That's our fear driving the bus. That is not our love for our client driving the bus. That is us with our our emotional mess clogging up our systems. And if we have boundaries ahead of time, it helps alleviate that pressure.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I love how you just nailed that and described that for us. So thank you. And the amusing sound effects that go with it. Annie P Ruggles, I have so enjoyed our conversation. I could talk to you for hours. And I love your energy. I love your energy. And you bring such a colorful and fun element to selling. Like I hope for those of you listening today to this, that you're walking away saying, I can't wait to go sell some stuff. I can't wait to go talk to some people, because Annie, your energy is just contagious. I'd love for you to share with us, how can people find out more about you, about your work, and any final thoughts as well. If you have any final thoughts to sum up first, and then give us a little bit of a lowdown on how people can find you and your work.
Here's my final thought. I'm going to reiterate the very first thing I said. Selling is not how you've been badly sold to. My definition is problem solving for money. If that doesn't work for you, I encourage you to redefine it for yourself. That will be the most liberating and potentially profitable decision, mindset, choice shift that you can make. Now, if you're struggling to do that, or you're struggling in your own definition, one of 2 things are what I'm going to ask you to do today. If you have a selling or customer service situation coming up that terrifies you or makes you uncomfortable, do not go to my website. Don't do it. It's beautiful. But no, what I want you to do instead is I want you to reach out to me personally on a platform with messaging. The 2 best for me are Instagram, where I'm at Anniepreneur, or on LinkedIn, where I'm just at my name. I would love to help you prepare really specifically for whatever it is you're up against, so you can see how lovely and easy selling can be. And I would love to do that as my gift for you. Now, if you're not in a reachy-outy place and you really are just in the mood to absorb, I welcome you to my website, AnniePRuggles.com. You'll find my free masterclass, Making Selling Easy Without Getting Sleazy there, a quiz, shows I've been lucky enough to be on like this one are all there, plus my own podcast, Too Legitimate to Quit. All of that is there on that website. But again, if you are in active sales avoidance now, reach out to me. I can fix that for you and with you if you'll just reach out.
Awesome, Annie. Thank you so much. It was a pleasure to have you here. And I'm looking forward to continuing a conversation another day. Thank you.
Thank you for selling from love.
Thank you.
If you like this episode, subscribe now on your preferred podcast player so you never miss an episode. And if there's someone in your life who could use a little love when it comes to their business and career, be sure to share the show with them too. You can find us at www.sellfromlove.com or email me directly at finka@finka.ca with any questions or comments. I look forward to seeing you next time. And remember, sell is not a bad 4-letter word. Sell from love, a better way to live, work, and sell. The Sell From Love podcast is executive produced and hosted by Finka Yerkovic. If you enjoyed this episode, please rate and review us on iTunes and make sure to subscribe so you never miss another episode. To learn more about how to sell from love, visit us at www.sellfromlove.com. Thanks for listening, and see you next time.